Hi, I'm Alyx Stewart, creator of Chemo Snacks. I understand the complete misery that cancer treatment side effects can have on your ability to enjoy food. I've been there. I was going through my cancer treatment during a Christmas period. It was absolutely miserable. I don't want you to go through that. I've created a series of 9 videos with traditional Christmas food, but with a slight twist. Everything has been adapted to suit cancer treatment side effects and not fight against them. So you'll be able to sit down at the table with your family and loved ones and actually enjoy the meal together. Hope you enjoy the series. Starting this off with a real lemony treat, oh so smooth bliss balls. They're great. Then we move on to turkey and cranberry meatballs with a beetroot risotto. Next is our absolutely gorgeous mushroom Wellington for when you just can't do meat. And we've got some sauces to go with that, with these 2 cashew creams and pistachio cream versions. One from the archives is chicken soup because it suits almost every side effect. On to dessert to a gorgeously smooth panna cotta for a sore mouth and throat. And for us Aussies, we have a pavlova mousse. Hope you enjoy it. Christmas time's often a time for sweet treats throughout the day, but what if you have taste changes? Sometimes those taste changes can mean that everything just tastes far too sweet. It's quite an exaggerated sort of sweetness as well. So what you might be looking for is something that's a bit more tart. I'm going to be looking at a recipe here, or doing a recipe, that's the oh so smooth lemon bliss balls from Festive Fare, and I'm going to do a bit of a change to them as well. So I'm going to do a half and half, going to do half just the lemon and half lemon and cranberry. Now, fresh cranberries, I've actually got frozen ones here because I can't get fresh ones in Australia. These are really tart. There's no disguising it. Put it in your mouth, it'll pull a face like that. But when you have an aversion to sweetness, these could be just the thing for you. Obviously check with your dietitian and your healthcare team to see whether all these things are suitable for you. But I would highly recommend a fresh cranberry for just about anything if everything tastes sweet. Now, really simple recipe, all done in my trusty little food processor here. So what I've got here is a 1.5 cups of almond meal, so that's just ground almonds. I've got 1/3 cup of coconut flour. I have 1/4 cup of freshly squeezed lemon juice, or thereabouts. Didn't quite get 1/4 cup out of my trusty little lemon. I've got 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and I have 1/4 cup of coconut oil. Now, I haven't melted it. This is really quite soft. It's quite warm in our kitchen at the moment, so there's no point in melting it because this will just blend in with all the other ingredients in here. You can see it's almost on the edge of melting itself anyway. There we go, that's all in. Let's put these aside, my usual noise, and put the lid on here. I hope I've got enough cord. There we go. Oh, in here I don't have the cutting blade in the blender either. I have just like the mixing blade, the non-cutty blade, whatever it is that you have. Let's give that a whiz up. Right, that's gone into a bit of a ball. Let's just have a feel in there. Oh, that's quite sticky. Okay, that'll do us. What I'm going to do is take a bit of that out. I'm going to need a little thingy here because I'm going to roll these ones up as lemon balls, and I want kind of pink ones too. So I'm going to put in probably just a 1, 2, 3, 4. Really, you probably want to do this a little bit at a time, and you may want to actually blend these with the crushing blade first, or the cutting blade first, in just a little blender or processor. But we'll see what happens. We'll get a nice colour anyway. There we go, done. Too easy. Try and keep my top clean for a change. Had a bit of a disaster here yesterday. Something spilt all over the place. So we've had a set change. Okay, now I do have clean hands. Pop those down there. And all it means is take some of this out. Well, that's chopped up quite nicely. There's still little bits in there. It gives it just a gorgeous little looking texture, but it's really, really smooth. So these are great if you're having trouble chewing, I used to get really sore bones in my face about a week after each of my chemo rounds, and it made chewing anything hard or anything that, you know, needed remotely chewing quite difficult. Oh, these are lovely colour. There we are. Do a couple of these. Now you notice I hadn't put any sweetener in specifically because I'm making these for the side effect of where everything just tastes too sweet. Our typical fashion, so I've got 3 balls there and none of them are the same size. Look, if you're really anal, like I probably could be, you know, you could just do this in like 1 tablespoon lots, but why bother? Okay, now I did say that I was a little pedantic and anal about the size of these, so what I've got here is this tiny little scooper. I think they call it I don't know, a cake mix scoop or something like that. And this way, they're hopefully going to be all the same size. Okay, cranberry and lemon and just plain lemon. Oh so smooth bliss balls. Look, tuck into these if you feel as though you need a bit of a treat. They're not sweet, but they're certainly treaty looking, and they definitely are in the mouth. Enjoy those. Righto, this time I have an alternative to the Christmas turkey. If the turkey is just too big for you, I've got something that will do nicely. I'm making turkey meatballs. Now the great thing about the turkey meatballs is you can flavour them to whatever flavours you like. Go to your heart's content, and it's basically flavour them to the flavours that you need. So if you are, everything's tasting bland, for instance, you can add in mountains of flavours to this. If everything is tasting really dry, you can make these so they're as moist as ever. So just a bigger flavour hit than what you'll get in a big, huge roast turkey. I know you can flavour the turkey under the skin, but this can be a bigger hit. It's also not as large as a turkey, so you can make a really, really nice looking meal, but it's smaller and it looks more manageable. Now, as I said, I'm doing cranberries in this. Put your hand up if you think cranberries are sweet. These, make no mistake about it, are tart little beggars. I'll just have a look down that camera there. Absolutely tart. Now I'm using, as you can probably see here, well, it's a kind of fresh cranberry. Can't find fresh cranberries here in Australia, so I've got the frozen ones from the supermarket. Those little ones that you get in the packets have all been soaked in a sugar syrup, so they seem really sweet. These are not. So if you're having, say, metallic taste or bitter taste, you can still have these, and you might still want the cranberries in it, but you'll need to sweeten it with something. So today I'm going to be sweetening it with a bit of orange juice. Now in the real world, I would have remembered to have bought, say, pears or peaches, but I forgot. So I have oranges, so I'm going to be using the oranges in this one. Now, going to be also doing a you know, the quick method of cooking. It's not lazy, it's just making the most of your energy resources and not using them up during the cooking process. So what I'm going to do with these cranberries is pop them into my little whizzy blender here. There we go, they're still a little bit frozen. Pop the lid on. I just want to chop them up, not too fine, it's however they come out really. And that should do it. There we go. They end up looking like that. I'm going to pop those into my bowl here. Ooh, I don't have an apron on, and this is bright red. It's like my arch nemesis, which is beetroot, which I'm going to be making up to go with this, and I was really surprised at the flavour combination. I'm going to be making up a beetroot risotto. The colour of these two together is sensational, but the taste is even better. Just pop that down here. There we go. Into that bowl, I have my turkey mince here. I've already used up half of it because I've made half of this already. So normally this would be 500 grams of turkey mince, and the cranberries would be 1 cup. So I'm just going to pop all of this into a bowl. That in, that into there. Put that back down here. Okay, I am also going to put in, now you need something that's going to bind it. I'm not going to use an egg. Today I'm going to use, these are white chia seeds. So those white chia seeds will bind it nicely. Look, you can whiz these up to make them ground. I wouldn't bother, just pop them in. Just after you put these in and you go to roll them up, you might want to leave it just for a minute for those chia seeds to soak in some of the moisture and bind that all together. The alternative to using chia seeds, another one, is ground flax seed or flax meal. Now I would use that probably in something that's darker. Look, you can see that that's really dark and that'll turn these quite a dark colour, and I want to keep them sort of a bit whitish if I can. But that's a really good alternative, and these things bind just as well as an egg. Just wanted to use something a bit different today. And also have 2 cloves of garlic. This is 1 clove because I've halved the recipe. That can go in there too. And going to add a little bit of salt, bit of pepper to taste. This is freshly ground black pepper, which is one of my favourite smells in the world. Now, wanted a bit of sweetness in there. I've got a orange here. I'm actually just going to get a bit of the zest off first, because I like orange zest. We don't get clementines here in Australia. If I could find a clementine, I'd be using that. But you know, this is Australia, never seen one here. Let me know if you can get them in Australia and where from, but none the wiser as to where to get them. Okay, so we'll have a bit. Oh, you can see I've actually, I've used a bit of zest off this the other day too. Oh, that rocks that table, doesn't it? So I'm not very good at squeezing in these things, as you can see. Oh, let's just save that from going all over me then. Keep my hand down here. There we go. Gee whiz, it's a bit mucky today. And the other thing I'm going to put into here too is I've got some nice big fat sage leaves, because turkey and sage, you know, they're one of the best things. Now you can probably, I'll move that over to there and try not to rock this table too much. See my very poor knife skills. If you are a chef, please don't write in. I understand they're not very good. And yes, I am just as surprised as you are that I haven't taken a finger off by now. Okay. Look, you could do this in your little whizzy blender as well, which I prefer to do, quite frankly, because I don't have to chop anything. I'm going to put in a bit of parsley as well. We don't have a fancy set or a fancy studio. Decided to do it on the table here because I can get a blank wall behind me and then I can put a nice design on it post-production, or somebody will do that for me. The kitchen it's a bit of an odd colour. Doesn't come out very well on camera, so we'll use something else. Okay, so that's all that needs to go into there. I don't think I've forgotten anything. If I have, you'll find it in the recipe on the website. But that's the basic lot. Now, I have a hard time touching raw meat. I just can't do it without gloves. So, gloves we are. Oh, I've got my baking tray just here too. I've lined it. Now, you can cook these in a fry pan. That would be fine. These are going to go in the oven, 175 degrees for 18 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the size of the balls you make. It's sort of about golf size or a bit, golf ball size or a bit bigger. And you could also, I guess, you know, steam them. But in the oven, you can cover them with foil if you want to keep a lot of that moisture in there, and you need that extra moisture if you have a dry mouth or a dry throat. This is really moist mixture. If you think it's too moist, I wouldn't actually add anything to soak up that moisture. Those chia seeds in the end will do the job. Just, you know, to start off with, they don't have much suction power and you think that nothing's going to stick and bind together, but they will. And the colour stayed nice because I haven't used the brown flaxseed like I did the other day, and it just sort of looked all like a brown mushy ball mess. There we go, that's it there. Okay, so we're going to do, as I said, about, you know, you can actually make these up any size you like. I've done recipe before with, you know, a big meatball, so you could do that. Just need to cook it in the oven for a bit longer, a bit lower. But these are coming out. The colour's really, really pretty. I think this will make, I think last time it made about 15 to 18, and that was with half the recipe. So you actually get quite a lot out of these. Look, gosh. Okay, so I'll continue on with the rest of those and I'll be back and we'll be able to start the beetroot risotto. Turkey balls are out of the oven. Who wouldn't love this as an alternative sort of Chrissy dinner? I'm going to pop a couple of these on top. Thyme on top, nice sprinkle. There we are. That's turkey and cranberry meatballs with a beetroot risotto. Great for all different sorts of side effects, particularly dry mouth and throat. You'll love this one. Turkey meatballs are in the oven. Going to start the beetroot risotto while they're cooking. Now, I have my apron on. Beetroot and I do not mix. Really, really simple recipe, this one. I'm going to start on here with putting, there we go. I've got a knob of butter in here. And what I'm going to do is I've got some finely sliced onion, and we're going to just cook that onion, not until it's brown, just needs to be soft, translucent. Then what we're going to do is add the risotto rice with a bit of wine and some garlic. Now, I think this wine glass, oh yes it did, came from an airplane. I'm not telling you which one it is. If you know the symbol, you'll be able to tell me too. I'm not going to be bothering roasting my own garlic for this either. I've got that pre-packaged stuff that you can get in the deli department or in the fruit and veg department. You can also use tinned beetroot for this as well. I'll just turn this down a bit. It's got the zhuzh on already. There we go. One more. And with this one, what I'm going to do with it, you can mash it with a fork, but because I'm such a messer with beetroot, I'm going to put it in my little whizzy stick blender thingy. And you just want it, you know, finely chopped, roughly chopped. If you're getting the tin stuff, you can get it diced already in nice small dice pieces. I'd keep it like that, don't do anything with it. Okay, so we're just going along here. Really important with risotto is when after you've put your rice in, everything's toasted, and you start putting the stock in, that you stir it almost constantly. Unfortunately, it's not one that isn't time consuming, but it's really worth it because you'll end up with a far creamier consistency. To that, I'm going to add the arborio rice. There's a couple of different risotto rices you can use, but this is the quickest one and the easiest one I can find at the supermarket. What I'm going to do is pop that in, and the garlic too. I'm going to be ambidextrous and use my left hand. And make a noise. There you go. Now just pop this one so you can see what's going on in here as well. Need to toast that rice just so it's a bit drier and it's ready to soak up the stock. I like doing the risotto with these meatballs. As a whole dish, it's visually really appealing, and it's just a bit different to the roast veg on Christmas Day. You know, you don't want to have the roast veg if it doesn't suit you, if you've got a really dry mouth, a sore mouth, difficulty chewing. This is far more moist. You can make it as moist as you need it to be. You can really loosen it up with extra liquid as well. You can also add in, as I said, other flavours. I don't know if it would go with a bit of nutmeg, just a sprinkle of nutmeg in there. I quite often like putting mint in with my things. It settles my tummy quite nicely. There we go. Look, I think that's probably heading towards where we need it to be. We're going to go in with our glass of wine, with our stolen glass from the airline. Need that to sizzle a bit so it burns off the alcohol. Now, stock. There are some really, really good quality stocks you can buy from delis and supermarkets these days. I've actually never made a stock, not surprising really. Get something that's going to suit your energy levels, put it that way. If you don't need to make it, don't make it. You're going to put in, a bit less than half a cup at a time for this. I want it to soak up as it goes. I might put that into there as we go too, so I don't make a mess on my table runners. Here we are. Stock is still nice and hot. Want it to be hot as it goes in. Up another notch. You see, just don't need to be too vigorous with the stirring, just moving it around, breaking up the starches so you get that creaminess from the rice. There you go, this is coming. You can see that soaking up that moisture and that stock, so it's probably almost ready for the next one. So we'll pop in one more. I'll continue on with this and I'll get back to you when it's getting towards the end. I've got to the consistency I want it to be. I could probably add a bit more moisture to that, a bit more stock. However, comes the fun part, I'm going to put in the beetroot. Now as you can see, I've chopped it up in my little blender and it's all different sizes, but it's mostly fine, a few bigger chunks in there. Just get that in, being very careful of course. There we go. Yum. There, and just watch that colour transformation. That's looking just how I want it now. It's still really moist and it's had the beetroot through it. Just look at that colour, and honestly I want to eat that now. Okay, so just to that I'll probably just add just a small knob of butter. Look, you could also stir through some yogurt, some natural yogurt, Greek yogurt, maybe even some creme fraiche if you felt like that. I quite like coconut yogurt with just about everything. Let that butter melt in there. I'm also going to put in a little bit of Parmesan cheese, if I can open up the packet. Leave this one up to you whether you want this in here or not, particularly people who are suffering with bitter tastes and things that are too salty. I'd probably leave out the saltier cheeses. You may want to go for a soft cheese. That would go perfectly well in here. Stir that through. Now what have I got? I've been out to the garden and I picked some fresh thyme, so I think we'll just pull that and pop that into there. A little bit of lemon juice too, freshly squeezed. And I've got, poor old parsley's been sitting here looking a bit tired. Has anybody else cut their herbs with a pair of scissors? I love the look of those herb scissors that you can get. They look gorgeous. I like stalks. Stalks have so much flavour. Balls. The turkey balls are out of the oven, so I'm just going to plate this up. Sorry, I do like to make a noise, in case you've probably guessed that by now. Let's just have some of this onto here. Honestly, who wouldn't love this as an alternative sort of Chrissy dinner? And just look how gorgeously moist that is. I'm going to pop a couple of these on top. There we go. And where's my little thyme gone? A bit more thyme. Thyme on top, nice sprinkle. There we are. That's turkey and cranberry meatballs with a beetroot risotto. Great for all different sorts of side effects, particularly dry mouth and throat. You'll love this one. See you for the next one. The cancer treatment side effects of taste change and smell changes often means an aversion to meat, but it's really important that you find another high quality protein source. And today I'm doing that in the form of mushrooms. This makes a really attractive dish on the plate. It's a mushroom Wellington, and it's opposed to having a beef Wellington, or say I've seen even like kind of white meat Wellingtons as well. I'm going to be using lentils, mushrooms and chestnuts in this. What we're going to do to start off with is these big mushrooms here. So these are just a normal field or cap mushroom, and I have some Swiss browns. The great idea about this one is also that you can add in different flavours. So add in things that you actually really feel like or that you're craving, because that's probably the trick to taste and smell changes when you're going through treatment. Is if your favourite foods are tasting really yucky, you won't eat them, but you really need to find something else. And if there's something that's surprising you, that you thought, I'd never felt like that before, go for that every time because you've got to take in nourishment. Now let's get on with these. I'm going to pop these into the oven for say about 10-15 minutes. I'm going to cover them with foil because I want to retain the moisture within them. My oven on at about 180 degrees. I'm going to wrap these in foil. So into the oven for these. Right, the big mushies are in the oven. Now I'm going to go to stage 1 of the filling. What I've got here in this bowl, I've got some backpack chestnuts and I've got some parsley in there. I think I've got some thyme in there as well. I'm also going to use some of these leftover mushrooms. So basically what I'm going to do is just whiz them up to almost like a paste consistency or very fine. So we'll take the lid off here. Don't have a very long cord on this, so it's a bit wobbly. I'm going to use all of this and just going to tear up the mushrooms, just do it really quickly. There's actually quite a moist paste in there, so that's exactly better than I'd hoped for actually. I have in here a tin of lentils. I'm using tin lentils, they're nice and moist. I've got some fire roasted red peppers here, about 1.5 from the jar. I've got some pistachio nuts, I've got some sage, an onion diced up. In here I have some frozen spinach. I've got some thick glaze and what's that? That's mustard and a bit of stock here. I also have a little bit of cinnamon, so that's going to provide a little bit of Christmas spice in there. While the mushrooms are in the oven, we'll get on with the rest of the stuffing for the Wellingtons. Into this pan here, I'm going to put my diced onion and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in it this time. We want this to be as effortless as possible because energy is one thing so many people don't have during their cancer treatment. This is frozen garlic. So 1 cube of this equals a teaspoon of freshly ground garlic. So I'm going to use a bit of that into there too. I'm also going to put in a little bit of stock powder just for some flavour. And this just needs to go gently until it's cooked through. I'm going to add just a snippet of water to it as well. Yes, so I have, as I said before, the lentils, tin of lentils in here. So I'm going to put this chopped up capsicum or red peppers, whatever you want to call them, they're fire roasted. I've got some pistachio nuts because I love pistachio nuts, so they can go in. I think they're quite Christmassy. And some fresh sage as well in with that. A bit of salt, a bit of pepper, and I said about the cinnamon, so I'm going to use about 1/4 teaspoon, so hopefully it doesn't all rush out at once. And I'm going to do a squirt of, I've got some big glaze here because I thought that would just go nicely in it, just a quick squirt of that. Last but not least, some mustard. Use whatever mustard you like. You just really want to mix all of this together. The onion and spinach has cooked down now. It's ended up looking like that and I've let it cool a bit so it's nice and cool. I'm going to add that into our lentil mixture. Now you see I have some gloves on because that means I'm going to get my hands in and get them dirty. And I seem to think it's going to be a bit too moist. So what you want to do is just squeeze it together a bit. It's very moist. In this instance, I'm going to add the ground flaxseed. But fresh breadcrumbs would be, you know, a super alternative to the ground flaxseed. Oh, look, I think that's going to be perfect. I don't want it dry. But look at that, that's just come together nicely. You can make a little meatloaf out of this. Look at that, you just do that. Done, into the oven, cover it with a nice sauce. Hey, well, I think that's actually fine now. Go and get the pastry and we can get these put all together and into the oven. Right, I have a sheet of puff pastry here. It's thawed, it's on a piece of baking paper already. First things first, this paste that we made up with the mushrooms and the chestnuts, nice and moist there. I'm going to take some of that and I'm going to put it about 1/3 of the way in onto this. Now I don't want to be skimpy with it either, leave a bit from the ends. Just pop this on. It's still nice and moist. There we go. Oh, that looks lovely. Right, now these come out the oven, cooled a bit. I didn't have to turn them upside down, they're just beautifully moist. I'm going to pop that one there and this one here, and phase or layer 2, phase 2, is our mix, our lentil mix we made up before. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to kind of make it into a little ball. Just gently put it around, a bit of egg wash just on the side here and around that side too. Is I'm going to take the pastry, it's going to have to be stretched just that little bit, and I want that to come to there. Just going to tuck it in. Risk it. Let's see. I've stopped talking. I'm nervous. Oh, I hope I haven't done it too deep. We'll find out. Right, let's have a good lot of egg wash on this. And this is going to go into the oven. I have a fan forced oven, so I have it on 180 degrees at the moment. And I'm going to have that in for about 25 minutes. If you need a smaller version of this, just make it up with one mushroom and halving the ingredients. There'll be plenty for 2 people doing it this way. Well, they're out of the oven, and to say that I'm absolutely stoked about them would be an understatement. It didn't come apart with all that lattice work on top, so that's a bonus. Honestly, what is there not to love about this? Absolutely nothing. A mushroom Wellington with a lentil stuffing, for anybody who has taste changes or smell changes, this is absolutely the bee's knees on Christmas Day. If you're experiencing everything tasting overly sweet, I have a cranberry and cherry chia jam here. That will be perfect. Now, if everything is tasting bitter, you need to add a bit of sweetness to it. Over here, I have a maple spice pumpkin cashew cream. Use that like a gravy. You can heat it up and just pop it on just exactly as you would a gravy. Any veg will go with this, anything you feel like. Now, again, for veg, going back to the bitter taste, if you're having roast carrots, peel them. There's a lot of bitterness under that skin. Definitely peel your carrots. Top tip. Right, let's have a little slice in. Why don't we just go in at about here? Could probably do with having a slightly larger knife. Oh no, lovely. Now, halfway through the cooking time, I did turn the oven up to 200 degrees Celsius and I gave it another egg wash. Oh, goodness me, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Now there is another one to go. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow. Just wow. I'll have to show that to the overhead camera. Absolutely perfect. And again, the same accompaniments will go with this. It's got the same ingredients as the other one. I just need to have another look at that. Lordy. Okay, right. Lunchtime, I think. Look, I hope you really enjoy these. They're such a great alternative to a meat, a white meat, a red meat, any meat really. And the amount of protein in it is extraordinary. So you'll get your nourishment out of those too. Right, let's talk some Christmas veg. Now, some of the traditional Christmas veggies just might not suit you. They might be a bit too rough, a bit too dry. I've got a great sauce that goes with them though. What I'm going to be making is a cashew cream. Now, cashew cream's a real staple. It is so easy to make. All it is, cashew nuts, soaked in water with some lemon juice in a blender, done. It's a great sauce for going over anything. It can be a pasta sauce, it can go over meat, you can flavour it in all different sorts of ways. What I'm making today though is a maple spiced cashew cream. Maple spice pumpkin cashew cream in fact. So we'll get some veg in there as well. And we can put this with other vegetables, or I'm actually going to use this over those little mushroom and lentil Wellingtons that I made. So it'll be a really nice colour, a great contrast, and it'll add moisture into the meal as well. So what I've got here, I've got a bit of, I think it's butternut pumpkin cut up, diced up. I'm going to make up a mixture of just a bit of olive oil, and I've also got some maple syrup, very Christmassy maple syrup, bit of that into there. And I've got a spice mix. Now, number of spice mixes you can make for this. I'm actually using a bought one from a shop that's called Gewürzhaus, and we've got this at our local shopping centre. You can order it online though. I'm using the Christmas cake and pudding spice because it's the one that I have. One that would be really nice with it would be their pumpkin pie spice because it's a bit sweeter, and I may want to add in a bit more nutmeg into this one afterwards. We'll see how it tastes. So it's just a case of popping some of that mixture into here. This is the maple syrup and olive oil. In there it goes. Oh, I still have my little shelf here, excellent. And I'm going to sprinkle in, I should have done this with a spoon, but never mind. Look, you can always add a bit more after if you just don't think that there's enough in here. And I really should have brought a spoon for this part, but I didn't, so I'm just going to use my hands. So we're going to have it onto a baking tray here. There we go, just make sure you coat everything. So I'm trying to use one hand because I don't want to get the other hand dirty. I probably could have done with a larger bowl. There we go, that's coating up, and just a bit of a smell. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. And this will caramelise a bit in the oven as well, so you'll get a few nice bits and pieces in there, slightly different tasting when it caramelises. I'm going to make this up with the cashew cream in the blender after this is cooked. So this will go into the oven for about 20 minutes on 200, and we'll be back when that's done. In here I have 100 grams of cashews. These have been soaking in hot water. There's about 100 mils, 150 mils in there. They just go into the blender. I like to use quite a high-speed blender for this one because you do want it really smooth and creamy. And into that we'll also add about a tablespoon of lemon juice, just like that, and a pinch of salt, and that is your basic cashew cream. Now this pumpkin's out of the oven, it's cooled down so I can touch it. What I did with it was I roasted it in maple syrup, olive oil, and I also sprinkled on a spice blend from Gewürzhaus. Now it had, I think it had cinnamon in it, coriander, some cloves. It was, I think it was their Christmas pudding one. You can use the pumpkin pie spice one as well, or you can just look it up and make it from scratch. It doesn't really matter. Or you could just grate over nutmeg, that would be fine too. So into the blender, I'm hoping not to make a mess. Keep having to change my tabletop here because I do make a mess quite often. There we go. Oh, that's very sticky. I think we got away with that. On with the lid. And I'm going to use my noisiest blender out. Just give it a shake so it all goes down the bottom. On there. Button. And blend away. It's looking good. Just give that bit of a shake. It will probably need a bit more water in it, a bit more moisture. Yeah, it's quite thick. So we can always add that at the end as well after it's poured out, and then you can get the correct consistency. The important thing here is just to get it really creamy. So we'll pop that back on again on high. Right, I think that's enough. Now it's quite thick, so we'll get that down to the bottom first. Let's see if I can get this off. And beautiful. Look at that gorgeous colour in there. Now, as I say, that's really quite thick. So I will be adding water with that at some stage. And the smell is divine, that maple syrup smell and that lovely Christmas spice. Gorgeous. There we go. So that's the pumpkin maple spiced cashew cream. There we go. And we'll get that onto those Wellingtons now. The sauce I'm doing now is a pistachio and mint cream. Now just keep in mind these sauces that I've shown you all the way through, they can be used as a pasta sauce, they can be used as a gravy, you can use them as a salad dressing, or they can be eaten on their own. They're so versatile. They're really good for anybody who has dry mouth, sore mouth, dry throat, difficulty swallowing, just to have these on their own. They're such a nutritional hit, and you can change them to suit different taste changes and different smell changes. They're really such a great go-to. Right, okay, so what I have in here is about 100 grams, 80 to 100 grams of pistachios. These have been soaking for an hour in 150 mils of hot water, same as for a cashew cream, basically a pistachio cream. So pop these straight into the blender here. Again, trying not to make a mess. Keep having to change the tablecloth. That one goes down there. Right, into this one, also going to put in a clove of garlic. I have about 6 quite big mint leaves, and just you might need to taste this as you go along. You might need more mint, depends on the mint that you get, but oh, that smells beautiful, so they can go in. And going to use half an avocado as well, so I've got some really good fats going on in this dish. Here we go. Other people would do this much quicker than I could. I don't like to waste any avocado, it's beautiful. Look, it can just go in like that, really. Oh, and we need a tablespoon of lemon juice. Just rethink the lemon juice or any citrus if you're having troubles with sore mouths and mouth sores, which was my arch nemesis when I was going through treatment, along with a number of other things. Now I'm going to whiz this up first before I put the, oh actually no, we might put a bit of this in. So this is 2 quite generous handfuls of washed baby spinach. Now let's just see if we can get that going first. I tend to overstuff it and then it just sits there and whizzes around with nothing. So we'll get it going. I can get some liquid down the bottom there. We'll be right. Goes on and start. I think, yep, that's already becoming quite thick. We can have the rest of the spinach in there. Oh, look at that colour already. It's beautiful. Let's have a bit more of this. I think I might add a bit more mint too. Just that mint could do with a bit more of a zhuzh, I think. Down there, let's have some big old mint leaves here. Let's have another bunch. There we go. That should do it. Oh, there it is. How could I miss that bright lid? Alright guys, make sure we're on good and tight. Oh, yeah, we'll probably end up having to add a bit more liquid. You can add stock into these too, just give them another layer of flavour. How good is that colour? Honestly, I can't say a bad thing about it. Unless you don't like green, like your peas and your greens, who knows. Let's have this off, have a look. Ah, that is magnificent. Now it's quite thick, so this would make a really good creamy, thick pasta sauce. You could even do some cauliflower cheese with it, but I cook the cauliflower first and just spoon this over the top and stir it through is what I would do with that. There we go. So that is the second of the sauces. It just, oh, I wish it was a smell TV because that just smells so good, and the colour, I can't get over that. Lovely. Right, let's see what we can put that on. Hi, I'm Alyx Stewart from Chemo Snacks. I've got a recipe for you today. It's chicken soup, but I'm going to call it chicken suit because I'm making it to suit a number of different treatment side effects. The very first side effect that we're going to be addressing is lack of energy. Now, this soup is all about not using much energy to make it, but it's also what you've got in your cupboard and what you've got in your fridge. First thing I'm going to do is not make a soup broth. No point in making a soup broth. There's so many nice ones out there that are available. Just use something that's bought. I've got one here. It's a Maggie Beer one. If you don't have this and you don't have a homemade broth, you can also just use, say, a packet of chicken soup, chicken noodle soup, anything like that as your soup base, and go from there. So that's the first hack. Second hack is the chicken itself. Now the ideal thing would be a barbecue chicken. They're nice and soft, they can tear up into nice small pieces. What I've done here is I actually cooked some chicken breast before and I've shredded it. So as you can probably see here, I'll get a shot of that, Jimmy. That's in some quite nice small pieces. You can break it up a bit smaller if you like to do that. If you don't have any fresh chicken breast at home, you may be able to order in some of this. It's just pulled chicken, and you might be able to see that that's got really much the same consistency as the chicken I've shredded here. And I just did this with a couple of forks as well. So not much energy to use so far. Already made, done for you. If you don't want to use chicken, or you don't have chicken of any description and you need a bit more protein in your soup, maybe you might have a tin of chickpeas at home or a tin of lentils. Pop those in instead. Easy, done. Now, I like to put some either noodles or some rice in my soups. It's just, if it's in there already, it's in there, easy, done. What I've got here, so I've got some uncooked rice here. You can put the uncooked, cook it up, put that in there. But if we're doing the low energy version, get a packet of the pre-made. Really handy to have in the cupboard. As far as noodles go, look, if you've just got any old leftover bits of pasta at home, use that. I've got a few of those there. They could be a bit big, you might want to break them up a bit. Rissone's really good if you have trouble swallowing because it's quite small. I've also got these, I think they're buckwheat soba noodles in the cupboard as well. They've been in there for a while, so I think I might break those up and use these. So I haven't had to make any pasta from scratch either. What else? Okay, flavourings. Add salt, seasonings, whatever you like to it. I'm going to put some parsley in mine. If you don't have fresh parsley in the fridge, use some dried parsley, use whatever dried herbs you have just to give it some flavour if you need it. If you need a bland diet, don't put any of those things in. You'll have enough flavour in there already. Same again, I've got some broccoli here. However, you can get the frozen broccoli, use that. I've got kale. If you don't have fresh kale, these are my favourite thing. They're Bell Farm's little, there we go, Jimmy. And they actually look like that. So the little frozen bits of kale. So handy for stir fries, anything that you need. What else do I have here? I've got some ginger. I don't have any fresh ginger at home at the moment, so I've got two different sorts. I've got a couple of different ginger pastes as well. Use those if you need it. Squirt them in as much or as little as you want. Job done. So I'm going to get on, pop this into a saucepan, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment, and then we're going to change it and change its consistency for some different side effects again. Back in a minute. I'm over here at the stove. I've got my my stock in the saucepan already. To that I'm going to add, I had some frozen corn, so we'll have the frozen corn in, and we're going to put in that frozen kale. I've got some soybeans as well. I can't say the other name for them, so I'm not going to embarrass myself even trying. They're soybeans. In they go. All of these things, if you are having trouble swallowing, you can cut them to size, but I'm going to show you a trick in a bit after this is cooked up, what you can do for that. Too easy. Put everything in as is now though. Also going to add in some of that chicken that I shredded, a good amount. Always need a lot of protein. Got the parsley, whoops, parsley. I'm going to put in some of that ready-made rice. I am going to use the frozen broccoli as well. Might need some more stock at this rate. And a squirt of ginger. So that's all in. Oh, good squirt of ginger. Love ginger. And once we give that bit of a stir out, you might want to come over here, Jimmy, and have a look what's in the pot. I think I might add the other packet of stock to this as well, because this is probably, oh, we'll see how it cooks up. It's going to reduce down a bit. Go. See you in a minute when this is done. Right, this has been blipping away for a little bit. Come and have a look at this. So this soup on its own is great. It's fine if you are able to eat it with chunks and all. Just look at those colours. It is full of goodness in there. However, this is where it's going to get really interesting, because I'm going to take this. So this is one soup as it is. Now, if you are in need of a clear soup, it's not going to be particularly clear, but if you need a clear soup without the added fibre in it, because it's not going to sit very well in your tummy, what you need to do is strain the soup. Oh, it can make a big mess here. So what you would do is take all of this soup from here, pass it through a strainer. Well, some of that is quite big. And what you're going to end up with is just the broth. If that's all that you can have at the moment, then so be it. Don't waste all of this goodness up here though. What you can do with this is put it in little freezer bags and freeze up portions, and the same with your stock here. Freeze those up in different portions, and that way when you're up to it, you can start adding back into the soup the bits that you can take and the bits that you need and the bits that you require to start building yourself up again, if you need to start with just a base. But it's all here. You can just section it out however you need to and do what's best for you at any given time. This soup is so versatile. It's just, you know, you can do whatever you like with it and it will freeze perfectly in any way. Now, if you are at the point where you can have all the bits in the soup, but say you have a sore mouth or you have difficulty swallowing and you need a smoothness in it, it's where the blender comes into it. What happens? Everything will now go into the blender. We blend that up and there you've got your smooth soup. And again, you can portion that out. If you keep some of the solid content separate again, you can add those into the blended soup as you become better and better at swallowing again. So I'm going to whiz up some of these and show you the finished versions in a moment. Right, soup's all cooked 3 different ways. Here we have the clear broth with the solids strained out of it. But again, remember, keep all of those solids, portion it all up, pop it in the freezer, add things back in as you need them. Great for a really, you know, tender tummy, that one. Here's the soup just as is, has everything in it in all its bits and glory. Just full of nutrition, absolutely great to have any day of the week. Again, really freezable too. And if you're having trouble swallowing, sore mouth, this is the blended version. So it still looks like a really pretty colour as well, so it's attractive. And again, you can put the solids back into that as and when you need to as well. So I hope you got something out of that. That is chicken soup, because it suits all the side effects, and we'll be back with another recipe for you shortly. See you for now. And when it comes to traditional Christmas desserts, we often think of plum pudding and Christmas cake. But that's no good if you have trouble chewing and difficulty swallowing. So what I'm going to make up for you here is a plum pudding spiced panna cotta. It's also great for anybody who has a touch of metallic taste, because it's a cold dessert, and they often say that things are at room temperature or cold are much better for metallic taste. So what I have in here is 150 mils of double cream and 150 mils of milk. I'm going to put that into a saucepan and just heat that up a bit. Now you want a bit of steam coming off the top, but you don't want it to boil, because that would just absolutely ruin it. It really is an easy recipe though, you just have to watch the heat. Pretty easy to do. I also have in here 4 gelatin leaves. Now these have been soaking for a few minutes, so 5 to 7 minutes for these. See what they look like? Really good for panna cotta because they just dissolve straight into there and you would never know. I also have vanilla extract, so 1/4 teaspoon of that, and I have some plum pudding spice. Now, you could make this up from scratch. I couldn't be bothered because I have Gewürzhaus, which is just at my local shopping centre, and they make up this gorgeous Christmas cake and plum pudding spice mix, and it has cinnamon, coriander, ginger, clove and nutmeg. It's just really yummy. Before that heats up enough, what I'm going to do is add in the vanilla extract. Oh, a bit of steam starting to come off the top. We'll just put that down a notch. Now, depending on how spicy you like things or how strong a spice you like it, you might want to adjust this. 1/4 teaspoon is sort of a middle of the road amount, I guess. But you could always have a little taste test to start with. And we'll just mix that in. That's starting to look almost where we want it. You can see the steam coming off there. It's not too hot. And what I'm going to do with my gelatin leaves, pick them up, let that excess water drain off them, give them a little bit of a squeeze, and in they go. Now, you don't want to whisk this, you just want to move it around until they're completely dissolved, and they dissolve really quickly. That into there, clean that aside. Now, as far as things to put them in go, just pop them in some glasses. That's actually really easy. I'll just put this down here because I know what will happen. Just pop them into glasses in the fridge to set for at least 2 hours. Or you can use these other little moulds. I've just lightly greased these. They're little jelly moulds, I think they are. Now, because I am a renowned slopper when it comes to pouring things, I'm just going to pour this into here, like so. Over to there. It was very crossed arms, wasn't it? And oh, that spice smells gorgeous. And we'll get a couple of these going. Lovely thing about this is you can make them as big or as small as you want. You can make some that are sharing size. That's always fun. Let's see if I can get some into here. Make a couple of bigger ones. Hey, that's it. Into the fridge for at least 2 hours, if not 4 hours or overnight to set. Alright, whole new day today. The panna cotta has spent the night in the fridge. Now, if you've done it in little glasses like this, you don't need to turn it out. You can just start decorating to your heart's content. Now, these are really good. We're making the panna cotta as a replacement for a Christmas pudding or Christmas cake. It's a lot easier on the mouth. It's also a cooler dish, so it's better for metallic taste. They often say cooler food or room temperature food. It makes metallic taste seem a bit better. They're not sweet, so if you have an aversion to sweetness, by all means use a tart sauce with it or no sauce at all. If you want something that's a bit sweeter, you might want to add fruit or syrups, whatever you feel comfortable adding to this. They're just fine on their own. They already have a Christmas spice in them and it's just gorgeous on its own. However, I've made some little gingerbread men, so I'll pop one into there. Over here, I made a cranberry and cherry chia jam. And I made some lemon smooth bliss balls just before, and I forgot to put the lemon zest in, so I've put it into here and it's really yummy. So you can just decorate it with things like that. This is quite a thick chia jam, as you can probably see there. So you can just dob a bit about. I'm not very good at sort of, you know, the artsy sorts of things with this. So if you've done that, all good. Throw on a mint leaf and you're actually pretty good to go. Now, if you put them into moulds, they'll need turning out. It can be a bit of a faff. However, the way I do it, I'll just put that under there. The way I do it, I think might be a bit easier. What you can do, I've got a bowl of warm water here, and you can, with these moulds, dunk them into the water. Don't let the water go into the panna cotta itself, just for a few moments, run a knife around and turn them out. What I like to do though is, oh, I forgot my knife, I'll be back. Right, back with the knife, don't run with knives. Okay, so I'm just going to, that's warm, I've taken the water off it. I just like to run it just around the edge here. And these have been out the fridge for a little bit, so they may just come out on their own anyway. So run that gently around there. But just in case, my other little fail-safe method is I've got a cloth in here. You can hold these in your hands for a couple of minutes. That will do it. I've done that before. But if you're a bit sensitive to the cold, just hold this warm cloth around them for a little bit. It's like a little electric blanket. And who doesn't love an electric blanket? Well, actually, I don't. I can't stand them. If my feet get hot, that's the end of a peaceful night's sleep for me. Okay, let's see what that's done there. Pop that back into there. So the trick is to be quite firm about it. They don't always come out first time. I just loosen that off a bit more. And there we go. Just like that. A lot of finger crossing there. Here's one I turned out just a bit early. I've got one of the gingerbread men there. We'll have a bit, you can make this chia jam a bit thinner if you like. It's quite nice if it just runs over and looks pretty, but clearly looking pretty is not my forte today with a chia jam. So we'll just see if we can drape it over the top there. Got a bit of gingerbread men crushed up here, or gingerbread folk I think I call them. So we'll just sprinkle a bit of that around. Doesn't look as good as what I'd hoped, but never mind. Pop a couple of those on top. And I've got some cranberries. Remember, I say each time about the fresh cranberries, as tart as, but often really good for taste changes. And are we missing anything? No, I don't think I've forgotten anything for a change. Let's just have one more dab of that chia jam there, even it up. Okay, now I can't tip this because my cranberries will go everywhere, but say there's an overhead camera here, so we'll get that shot. That's Christmas spice panna cotta. It's a great one for difficulty chewing, difficulty swallowing, some noises. You can make this dairy free as well. There's vegan versions you can make. Just a great all-rounder, so I hope you really enjoy that one. Where I come from, Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without the good old pav. However, pav's not that great if you have a sore mouth. It's a bit scratchy on the inside, and especially the yummy homemade pavs. They can be a bit chewy, a bit scratchy on the way down. So I have a great alternative for you. It is white chocolate pavlova mousse. Now I'm taking the recipe from a Jelly is Not Food recipe, which is the red velvet mousse here. I'm going to change it just slightly for this one. It needs to look a bit like a pav, in other words. So what I'm going to do, look, it's so simple. I have 300 grams of silken tofu. That just goes straight into a pot. There. I also have 1/8 of a cup of corn flour. That just goes in as well. And I have about 1/3 of a cup, a bit less. It's actually 80 grams of melted chocolate. Now I'm using a vegan white chocolate and it's already vanilla flavoured, so I'm not going to put any vanilla extract in this. And this just goes in here too. Oh, it's a gooey mess, honestly. Sorry, I'm not showing you the correct angle of me so scooping all of this out. I don't want to waste any of the yumminess either. Okay, stop it now, Alex. Right, that over there. Now you could put this in a blender beforehand. Ooh, it's a bit sticky. In a blender beforehand and whiz it all up and put it in the saucepan. I've just got it straight in the saucepan. I'm going to use my stick blender, mix it in there all at once. There we go, that's all there is to that. Now let's get this off here. I'm going to make a bit of a noise, so I'll stop this for a moment. There's a little bit of splatter, but I cleaned that up. Okay, so we're going to pop this on over a medium heat and stir this just until it thickens. It won't take very long at all to do this part. Now, if it's not thickening quite as much as you'd like, sometimes it depends on the tofu that you use, also depends on the chocolate that you use as well. Add a little bit more corn flour and just see how you go. Add in a little bit at a time. Stop it from going lumpy, put the corn flour in a bit of water first. Right, that's thickened up a bit. I did add a little bit of extra corn flour to it, so we'll have that off now. And my trusty jug here. Right, now you can put these in whatever you like. I'm just going to do them in simple little glasses. And I've made here a strawberry coulis, which I've taken the seeds out of. I've strained that through. I have it's like a tropical fruit coulis as well. But pretty much in our household, it was always strawberries and peppermint crisp. Now, clearly peppermint crisp isn't vegan, but you know, I'm not vegan, but it can be, you can make it with a vegan chocolate. So I have mint vegan chocolate here as well. But our house, always the peppermint crisp. Okay, so the idea of this one is if you have that sore mouth, you don't want anything that's chunky in it, because you can put strawberries and fruit through it as well, fruit through it. Not very good English today, have I? But I'm going to keep it nice and smooth, so we'll just have a bit of this into these. Well, that's thickening up lovely. Beautiful. If I'm lucky, I'll have enough for a squidgy little one. Oh, made a mess. Just for something new. There we go. All right, let's have a little clean up. What I'm going to do is pop these into the fridge first of all, let them set for a bit, and then I'll decorate them. These have come out the fridge an absolute treat. I'm going to try and decorate some of them. Not my forte. If you've been watching what I do in the past, you just know that I'm hopeless at this. This is the strawberry coulis I was talking about. It's nice and smooth, gives great flavour to this. So sore mouth, difficulty swallowing, chewing, this is for you. So let's see what we can do here. Nothing special or spectacular about that. I clearly understand. Now, my family and peppermint crisp, it's been a love affair for decades. So I'm going to, because I'm probably going to eat this one in a little bit anyway, I'm just going to pop some little shards on there. And this one is that tropical coulis. A lot of people put passion fruit on their pabs here in Australia. There you go. Right, there you have it. White chocolate pavlova mousse. Great alternative to the bog standard pav, but not as scratchy.